All right, my name is Seth Klein. I'm here with Jerry Rago. He makes the baits for catching trophy trout and bass. And I have a question for you. Um, what got you into this business and starting to make all these baits?
Uh, Basically, I started repainting baits to have an edge for catching big brown trout here in the Sierras, and it kind of grew to a tinkering thing. It was kind of a hobby, and I wanted something different and bigger and faster, so I started making my own baits, and it grew into a business right away. And people said, if you wanted to do it full time, you got to go after the bass. So the bass are what pay the bills, but I'm still a brown trout fisherman, and they just become more complex and intricate, and it's something that a big company can't really do. They wouldn't be cost effective, but I can do it really fast. And then if something really gets popular, then we go to a big manufacturer or something.
So this isn't a hobby. This is a full-time thing now.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a living for about 13 years.
By any chance, could you show us how a couple of these would be made or the paint jobs?
Sure. Well, here's our. This is a real popular bait right now. It's called a glide bait, and they're made to mimic a trout, and bass and striped bass eat trout. Even the brown trout eat trout, but brown trout seem to like little skinny ones, and bass like big fat ones. But basically, this is a new style of a bait. It just has one joint, and it actually just swims like this. It hinges back and forth, more like this in the water, and it's not really swimming, but it's kind of a crippled action, and it attracts the big predators. Whereas and they're made out of rubber, and they usually have some kind of rigging to hold the hook. And the soft baits are based on the tail, whereas hard baits are made to swim from the head of the bait. The tail actually propels the bait, and they look more like they're propelling the bait because the tail looks like it's pushing it. But so I build a mold, and this mold is made in a box.
Let's come over here and show the camera a little closer here.
So basically, I'll carve a model. This would probably be carved out of a piece of wood, and it takes a little while to carve it. And based on experience, I know where to put the fins because some of them don't look exactly natural. Like this one looks like it has wings.
Right.
And what it does is it helps to deflect it around branches and rocks and stuff so you don't get snagged. Because the hook will be down here on the bottom.
Okay.
But basically, I'll carve a model and I'll suspend it inside of a box and then pour the silicone rubber around it. And usually we only go about halfway. And when that takes about a day to dry, and then we'll put a releasing agent here, and we'll fill the box up the rest of the way. And it'll look something like this when it's done. So the next day it separates, and we pull out our wooden model, and then now we have this cavity, and then this thing it fills up with this is a rubber lure, and they look like here's the same bait right here unpainted. So it took a little while to learn how to paint all the colors, and I got a big painting day today. These are actually going to these are going to the Bassmaster Classic, which is this week.
Really?
But so the Bassmaster Classic is the championship, but the Bassmaster Tour is the tournaments that lead up to the championship. Okay. So it's just and then these are ones that have actually some guys have caught a bunch of big fish on already, and they get chewed up eventually from hitting rocks. But mostly it's the hooks that cut into them, and that's what these marks are from hooks from guys making literally 1,000 casts, and then sometimes they send them back and I repaint them. But we use like the best automotive paint you can, and they're pretty tough, but they're not unbreakable. So and sometimes the rubber ones just blow the hard ones away. But the thing about the hard baits, it's almost like you could have a really fast car that's really ugly, but it's faster than all the other ones. And then you can buy a Porsche or something. This would be like the Porsche, but it doesn't mean it's going to win every time. The inexpensive one could win. So I'm gonna mix this up real quick. It's really similar to making pancakes. I can add a coloring agent to this, but basically I don't need to because they're going to be painted later on. it's so simple. You know, when I first started, it seemed hard, but now it just seems so easy. But basically, it looks like pancake batter. And then I'm going to pour it in the mold slowly. There's a lot of air bubbles, but that's because of the mixing. But they immediately start popping as it goes in the mold. There's little tiny holes in the mold in the top, and that's so trapped air can escape, so there won't be voids in the bait. So this is almost like a foam, and it's like a cross between foam and wood. And the lure we made, and then these are the pour spouts, if you will. I'm going to cut those off on a saw. There's going to be some little metal connectors, and I'm going to connect the bait, and then I have tails, and the tail's going to slip in here. And this is just made out of plexiglass, but I like it because, once this is painted, it's transparent, just like a real tail.
Okay.
And the other part, sometimes the detail is just whatever you want to put on there, but sometimes you don't want it to affect the swimming. But sometimes the fins sticking out are what make it swim different ways. So we have tail action lures, and we have lures where the head and the tail swim. Just a bunch of different ways. But
Well, thank you again, and I appreciate letting you into the
I hope I can help
office
you
here.
guys out. Sure.
Thank you.